Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Otakuology podcast. It's a new episode, new week. I'm Otaku Mike. I'm here with Jen Graves.
What's up?
If you don't know what, or how the Otakuology podcast is, we are a podcast that talks about many geeky, nerdy things like anime, manga, movies, stuff like that. And today we are doing another manga episode. We are looking at Vol.1 of Blood on the Tracks, written and drawn by Shuzo Oshimi. He is a very prolific horror writer. He has written Inside Mari, Flowers of Evil, Happiness, stuff like that. All things really fucked up. And today, we are looking at his newest manga. Well, sort of new, because I think there's like 7 or 8 volumes out. I am so behind on it.
Yeah, and I think he's already got another one that's out too, but I can't remember the name of it.
I can't remember. But this one is about a child and his very overprotective mom. That's the best I'm going to describe it.
His helicopter parent.
His helicopter parent. That is for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So this was my first foray into Shuzo Oshimi.
Right.
And man,
how did you like it so far?
It was interesting.
Because I know as much as of his work that I've read, because I've read the other 3, and that this one, for it to be the first one that you're actually getting into, how the train is so different between you and I right now. Like, because I know, like, you could hop into it and be like, "Oh man, that was fucked up," and me be like, "Yeah, no, I agree." But then it's like, okay, well, you've only read this one, you don't know how fucked up it'll get.
I gotta get the rest of it because honestly, I fell behind on picking up the titles because I actually, spoilers, I actually enjoyed this first book. But let's get into this. So our story starts out. How does our story start out, Jen?
Our story starts out with our main character as a little kid asking his mom about this kitten that at the time, I guess we didn't know, or through his eyes, but that there was this kitten or cat that basically was dead, and he was asking about it.
And they were like kind of interacting with it, touching it,
Right.
It was a little odd, but we find out our main character, his name is Seiichi. Is that how you say it? Seiichi? Is it Seiichi? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Seiichi.
Seiichi? Okay, it's Seiichi. And Seiichi is getting up for school. His mom is waking him up because his mom loves him dearly. And
a little too dearly,
if one might say. And he's getting ready for school, and he's going to have a swim class, I think it is, today.
Yeah.
And he gets all ready for school.
Did you ever have a swim class in
No.
high school or middle school? Okay.
We didn't even have a swimming pool in our high school. I think we had a swim team.
Yeah.
We didn't have a swimming pool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just sometimes, like, whenever it's in like in books or whatever, I always have to ask people what athletics or stuff they had in school, because sometimes, like, people are like, "Oh yeah, I did that. You didn't?" I'm like, "No, we didn't."
Yeah, no. I mean, I feel like each school is different.
That's true. Yeah. I feel like even like now, like, the big thing that I question a lot is when people go, "Oh well, we had home ec class." I'm like, "What?" Like, I've seen that in TV shows, but
yeah, we had that.
My school didn't have that. We didn't have wood shop, so
we had wood shop and
we have any of that.
They were actually right next door to each other.
That's funny. Yeah, no, yeah. we didn't have any of that crap. So,
anyways, Shuichi leaves his overprotective mom, and his dad actually happens to show up as well. And he is very surprised that his dad's actually there, because I think his dad is not really in the picture. He's more of like a traditional Japanese salaryman dad.
Yeah,
where
works all the time.
he works all the time, and he's got to go get drinks after work
Yeah.
and whatnot. And Suichi's mom tells him to have a good day, and he ends up going to, or on his way to school, he meets his, I
Hey,
guess,
can I tell you something about that
what,
part real quick?
what?
So the first time I read this, I was sitting here, and when I read that whole part between the interaction between the
Uh,
mom and the dad and stuff, I was like, I've read plenty of Faku manga that start out this way.
Jeez.
Dad's unsuspecting. Mom will play
Yeah.
sometime, somewhere.
Anyways, getting me off track.
You're welcome.
So,
Toot, toot, toot. I'm getting,
so
I'm getting you back on track.
Suichi is on his way to school, and I don't know if they're his friends or not, but they seem kind of mean to be his friends. They're kind of talking and asking him, "Hey, what's first period today?" And he's like, "I think it's Japanese." And they're talking, kind of fooling around. And Suichi's kind of he's a very timid child. And they're talking about, "Oh, you got your swimsuits? You got your swimsuits?" And they fucking pants him.
Right.
They fucking pants him, check to see if he has a swimsuit on. Not gonna lie, little gay. Just saying.
I mean, people used to do that quite a lot.
I know. But they are very excited to see that he has a swimsuit on, just saying.
Right.
You know. And we get to class and we see Suichi is looking at a young girl. Her name is Fukashi, I
Yeah,
believe her name is.
that's her last name.
Yeah. And what happens next, Jin? At the pool.
Oh, and then they get ready to go to the pool.
Yeah, what happens?
He sees her because I'm pretty sure they were like childhood friends too, right?
I believe they are childhood friends, yes.
Sees her talking to another
Or
dude.
some sort of childhood friend, I think.
Yeah,
Go ahead, sorry.
and then he sees her talking to a boy, and he kind of like does the whole ooh kind of thing, and I guess it throws her off her game about it to leave the guy.
Yeah, she kind of notices him, and I was a little confused when I saw that panel. I was like, is that Suichi? And like put peeking at you can see he was hiding around the wall, and I couldn't tell if it was him or another kid.
Right,
So that's why I was a little confused because she kind of like pops out around the corner. And she's like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
right,
He's kind of like fucking with them almost.
right. What a cute boy you are, ha ha.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I'm blushing." And the other kids start to like not like heckle him, but like give him a hard time about it, and
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh,
yeah, they
yeah."
do.
And
And then we have the little. I don't want to call him a little douchebag, but he's a little douchebag.
I mean, he is a little douchebag, yeah. He is.
The kid with the glasses.
Yeah, he's a little fucking cunt.
He's like my least favorite character at this point.
Yeah, does he show back up in the manga? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does.
Probably when they get back in school.
Maybe. And so Sei comes home to his mom. His mom's a housewife, obviously, and she talks about how his aunt and his cousin are going to come over again today, and he wanted
Not
to.
not today, tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Sorry, he wanted tomorrow, and she wanted to make sure he didn't have any plans, and he did have plans to go get ramen with his friends. I use the word friends loosely, but he's like, "Oh, I can cancel. I can cancel on them." So he starts talking about how he had a dream, and in his dream, he saw a dead cat, and when he was little, and it was on the side of the road, just lying on the side of the road. We've coming back around to this at the beginning. He's remembering things from the past,
Right.
and Say's mom is very surprised that he remembers this thing because he was only 3 years old when they saw the cat dead. You
Right.
know, yeah.
And how do you remember that? She probably thought that it would be like so traumatic that he would like bury it down so far he wouldn't remember it.
Yeah. So, and then we get this weird, awkward scene, which we could talk about more later. But she kind of puts her hands on Say's face, and she like leans in, and she's like, "Let your mommy hold you." And
That's true.
he's like, "Fuck no, fuck
That's true.
no."
Every time she says "mommy," it kind of makes me cringe a little
Yeah,
bit.
and he's like, "Quit, quit! You're embarrassing me." And we get this weird conversation, and she's like, "How do you think? How do you think the cat died?" And he's like, "I don't know. I think it probably got hit
Right,
by a car, you know."
right.
And then we get a picture of the poor little dead kitty cat on the floor. And how what happens next?
And then it's like the next morning, his mom's in the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
and this starts to seem really weird because I feel like this scene almost replays like multiple times when you're reading the series.
Yeah.
But where they have breakfast, and
Mm-hmm.
she asks the whole point of what kind of like I think it's a dumpling,
It's like
maybe.
a dumpling or like a pork bun type of thing.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is, a bun or
I think it's
something.
like red. It's at pork and red beans.
Yeah,
So I'm guessing like
and,
a
and she
pork
goes,
bun.
so it's either like a savory one or a sweet one with red bean paste
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And she asked him that, and we see that like being asked like multiple times.
Oh yeah, that is definitely true with that.
Yeah. And then Dad comes in, kind of talks to him. Dad says he's working late, and Mom says, "Hey, what about your sister coming over and her boy? We kind of need to get ready for it." And Dad's like, "Oh well, I'll probably be late,"
Yeah.
which I I forgot where I was at. Uh, so
We were talking about the pork buns and the continuous conversation every day
yeah,
about the.
so the pork buns and the red bean, and them basically going and Mom telling Dad, "Hey, your sister and your nephew are coming into town.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to, uh, what are we going to do? Are you going to be here for that?" And he's just kind of like, "I'll be working late again."
Yeah, he obviously works too much, and we see
Which,
then
I mean, reading some of the other ones that
uh
I've read, I really wonder if it's leaning towards that or if it's leaning towards him having an affair.
that's possible.
So, I mean, that's something we just don't know about yet.
Yeah, and so we meet Say's cousin and his aunt. They come over to hang out and talk and chit chat, I guess, and we see Say and his cousin playing this game. It's kind of like Tetris. It's an actual game, but I can't remember what the game is called.
Hold on, I'm trying to get there.
It's called. It looks like Tetris, but it's not. I think it's like
Oh,
Puyo maybe.
yeah, I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's like a drop down Tetris
Yeah.
style game.
Do,
And
do.
he's like, man, Say, you really suck. You're not good at this, you know.
Right,
And he starts kind of making fun of him and making fun of his mom and how she's like a big like helicopter parent, overprotective, shit like that, you know. And you
right.
know, and
Which,
says,
uh,
go ahead.
which I kind of wonder with this part with the joking if his mom ever really like heard any of that
Mm-hmm.
or anything.
Well,
I mean, I like to imagine she already knew,
yeah, I think she kind of already knew. Uh,
like she had heard that, especially with the outcome of things that happened later
but
on.
Say is kind of taken back by this situation, and he's like, what do you mean, you know?" And he just like, yeah, and he's like, Say's cousin's like, you know, she's just overprotective, you know, annoying, always hovering, stuff like that, you know. And he kind of goes back into his memory and he sees like when he was in like kindergarten, you know, he, his mom was always there, or would stay around, and just just very she was always there, helicopter,
Right.
which is a little, it's very like unsettling, and
That's true. That is very true
yeah.
with helicopter parents.
And so we get this interaction where Say's dad comes back, and his Say's aunt is there as well, and they kind of come up with this idea to go on like a hike up in the mountains.
Right.
And his dad's like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it'll be a great idea. Oh yeah." And they're all kind of happy about it, but Say's kind of like, "I don't know if I really want to do that. Because I think, was it before this? No, it was after this. His mom. No, makes the date with the girl,
Yeah.
but his mom's kind of like poking him, and just be like, "Hey, what's wrong?" And kind of giving this weird um look on her face, and she like just gives him a big old kiss on the cheek, and
Right.
she's becoming a little too much affection, if I do say so myself.
A little too handsy.
Little too handsy, a little too like, I don't know. It's a very unsettling feel when
Right.
you're reading it. So what happens next?
With them camping.
No, where he meets up with the girl, Fukushi.
Oh, she gives him her little letter on them going on a date or whatever, or coming over to like hang out.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I can't because my cousin's always over
Right.
at the at the house, and he's like, "Oh, maybe we can hang out. I don't know."
Yeah, maybe my cousin might be there.
And Say comes home, and he looks a little out of it. And as he's talking to her, he kind of says he invited a friend over to school, you know? And she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, maybe we can do it after the trip, after we take our trip to
Right.
the mountains." And she asks him again if he wants to have uh, roasted pork with rice, if that's okay. Which I
Yeah.
think she asked if he wanted pork and beans last time for lunch.
Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
I just remember the breakfast thing.
yeah. So I think they have pork and rice at lunch, and pork and beans
Ah!
breakfast. So
Pork or beans.
pork and bean buns or whatever.
Yeah, it's pork or beans.
Yeah. And
So
so go ahead.
sweet red bean bun or probably like a pork shaved bun.
Yeah, something like that. And so
Which
they go on their trip.
both
The
are
whole
delicious.
the whole family is there, you
Right?
know?
Grandpa, aunt, uncle, cousin,
Yeah.
mom, dad,
Everybody's there.
say
Uh yeah.
they start planning out their hike, which I feel like is kind of funny because at one point I think it's grandpa.
Mhm.
I don't think it's uncle. I think it's grandpa says, "Oh wow, we're keeping up better with these like young whippersnappers than they
Yeah.
are." Kind of like
Yeah.
situation, and then it's kind of like sitting there dogging on the dad and the uncle a little bit at the same
Yeah.
time too.
And they kind of get into like a little competition almost to
Yeah,
see who can like make it to the end of the trail. And we see this interaction between Say and his cousin. He's like, "Oh, look, I found the perfect walking stick." And oh, like uh come check this out, this and that. And
right.
we see throughout this this walk that they're doing, or hike, that Suichi's mom, or Say's mom, is very worried about what exactly could happen. She's very,
Yeah.
she wants her kid to um, not get,
Don't walk too
yeah,
fast. Don't do this.
yeah, don't do that. Stay close. And so Say's cousin pushes Suichi. I'm just gonna say Say because Say is easier to say. Say pushes Say, and you see his mom like lunge and go to grab him and like protect and shield him almost. And we get this weird interaction where everybody starts laughing at his mom
Right.
and saying, "Oh, you're overprotective, this and that." Uh, we can't believe you. Like, come on, And the
Right.
grandfather's like, "Oh, come on, let's get back on the trail." You know. Oh, her name is Saiko. That's what her name is. That's what the mom's name is.
Psycho.
Yeah, Saiko. Psycho
Psycho.
or Seiko.
Yeah, we can go with Psycho.
It's like Seiko. It's Seiko. I think it's
Yeah.
Seiko. I think I don't know. And
For
so
Seiko's sake.
they're going through the woods and they stop to have I think it's lunch
Yeah.
and they keep going on about how she's overprotective, you know, this and that and Say and his cousin go off and wander a bit off the beaten path. We see Say's cousin and he's like on the edge of a cliff and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh man, come check this out, this and that." And Say's like looking at him. He's like, "I don't think you should be doing that.
Right.
That's
Which
yeah."
didn't they tell the adults that they were just going to the bathroom?
I think so. Yeah, they just told him they were going to the bathroom, and we get this weird scene where Say's mom shows up and she's like, "What are you doing?" And
Right.
he's like, "What? What?" And she starts to she looks and she puts together like, Seiji's over there on the edge of the cliff, and she's like, "Look, stop! It's dangerous. You don't really want to do that." And he kind of like almost like
Starts dancing.
he like kind of starts dancing and like trips a little bit. And she's like, "Seiji, didn't I tell you um to like to not do that?"
Right.
And he's like, "Shut up," or she's like, "Shut up," and he's like, "I said I was fine, this and that."
Right.
And we get this scene to where they're standing on the edge of the cliff,
We get
and
the
this
bump
is
bump
this is the
bump.
kicker. And he's like, "Auntie, what are you doing, Auntie?" And Say's mom pushes his cousin off the cliff.
Dun, dun, dun. See, it was coming.
It was coming. It was coming. And so we get this scene to where uh, he's presumably dead.
Right.
And Say is just struck with fear, paralyzed to do anything really. And she's like, "Don't tell anybody about what happened.
Yeah.
He slipped and fell."
Which I think is kind of crazy. That whole point that she does right there, where she's like, "Hey, don't tell anybody.
Yeah, don't
Nothing.
tell anybody exactly what
Shh,
happened.
nothing happened." And then she starts yelling, "Go get the others! Something
Yeah,
happened!"
yeah, go get the others. Oh no! And so
Yeah,
everybody else finds out that uh, Seiji is fallen, slipped and fell, uh, and we get this interesting turn of events as to Sei covers up for his mom. I don't know if it's out of fear of what his mom might do or he was just in shock.
I think it was shock.
And he covers up for her, and then the manga kind of ends where everybody is going to go try to get Seiji, and it ends with his mom and Sei holding tight, holding each other on the cliff, like hugging, you know. But I mean, I guess we could go kind of into volume 2 a little bit because I know a little bit what happens. Later on, you
Right.
find out. Later on, you find out that Seiji is still alive. You know, with from falling off the cliff. He's in like critical condition, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
And it's the rest of the manga is them dealing with that aspect of like what his
Right.
mom actually did. You know?
Right. Which I mean, I think too, like part of this, I mean, with this scenario, is that she has kind of raised Seiji to be that way,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of like with the cat thing that we saw,
Mm-hmm.
she has basically undermined it where he can't tell things one way or the other,
Yeah.
and that in instances like this where she pushed him and everything,
Mm-hmm.
or Shinjiro,
Mm-hmm.
she pushed him, and now Seiji doesn't know how to actually accept it because of probably how he's grown up. I mean,
Yeah.
we only saw the cat part, but there's no
Yeah.
telling that it didn't happen multiple times.
Yeah.
You
True.
know,
And go ahead. Sorry.
that was it.
Oh, and like I feel like this manga ends with a like a like a thud, you know. No pun intended, but like it literally leaves you on a cliffhanger, you know, and we get to see
Literally.
literally a cliffhanger. But it's interesting to see like her the tonal shift and Say's mom and see how she like kind of her body language changes over time, her facial expressions, the way she acts, you know, around other people.
Right.
You know, Say never thought that his mom was capable of something like this, you know, of from just being like somebody who was like extremely overprotective, you know. Obviously, there's something wrong with his mom. Obviously.
Right.
I've aren't a lot of Oshimi's other stuff more supernatural based.
No, no. So Oshimi's best thing usually comes from his play on the human perspective
Uh huh.
of things.
Because wasn't one of them like about like vampires?
Happiness is the only one that he's had actual
Okay.
vampires and
Okay.
stuff in.
Okay.
Which I think that things like that, like if he tries to add another element to it, I think it screws up his whole rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
So like happiness is actually my least favorite of his
Okay.
works.
So.
Um, but that human aspect really plays into a lot of this, and I think he's got a good way of writing it where
Uh huh.
when you read it, it plays on your emotions as well
Mm-hmm.
as the characters in it, so it feels like you're actually a part of the
Yeah, and
story.
you're kind of seeing it through Say's point of view
Right.
for a good chunk of this. One thing I did while rereading this, I didn't realize it the first time I went through it. This book is set in the 80s.
Is it?
Yes, it is set in the 80s.
I didn't notice that either.
Yeah, yeah. From the like the stuff that they're playing, the cars that they're driving, the clothes that they're wearing. You know, they don't have cell phones. It's set in like the 80s.
I don't know about that yet.
I think it's set in the
I'll
80s.
have to rethink about that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I can't remember everything in book two to tell you if that's true or not.
Okay.
It would be really cool to find that out though and be like, yeah, that's what the setting of this one is. Holy
It
shit!
looks like it's set in the 80s just by like the way they're dressed, you know. Um just the way everything is. It's what it seemed like to me personally. Um but I I thought this was a very interesting first volume. I
Right.
enjoyed it.
I I have to say, and I mean, you can agree with me on this or
Uh-huh.
not, but I have to say that probably the ending of this one
Hmm.
is probably like out of the first one of any manga I've ever read, this is probably the biggest one where I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, like holy shit, like what the hell's
You
gonna
know?
happen after this, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like even the first No Longer Human, like series that came out, which was the 3 volumes from
Hmm.
whoever. Like even the end of that was like a big shock to me, but then this one was like completely like over that one. Holy,
Yeah, most definitely, and like a lot of people say don't talk about this manga because you'll spoil things, and a
right.
lot of people say you should go in uh like blindly while reading this manga. Like something happens, obviously. Uh,
I
regardless.
I feel like sure you could talk to somebody about this or whatever, and you really don't want to say anything because then
Hmm.
you kind of ruin the volume
Yeah,
at that point. Because I mean, like we talked about, there's not really that much to actually cover in it.
yeah, that's true. There isn't that
There's
much to
not,
cover in the story.
so I mean, anything you do is kind of going to be ruining that volume at least.
Yeah.
But I think, too, like we were talking about just with this guy,
Hmm.
and Osama does the same thing. Um, that Shuzo does is just the fact of when you're reading their work, whenever you move on to the next volume and you keep going, there's this build up on the whole
Hmm.
thing, and it actually triggers you over a lot of other things.
Yeah. This this
So,
this manga does build up quite a bit from the first page to the last page of this volume.
right,
And it's very, you get these hints of something's not right, something's very unsettling, and I noticed things more the second time I read it. I picked up on different things,
right.
different aspects of how she would act around or talk to certain people and stuff like that, And I have a theory. I don't think they found the cat dead.
Oh, you don't think that they found the cat initially dead
Yes.
when it was sleeping?
I think possibly that Say's mom killed the cat.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
No, no, I agree with that. I think that too.
Maybe like Say was playing with it and it did something to Say and she like snapped and killed it.
I don't even know. I don't even know that part. I think probably she just doesn't want anything to overrule her on anything of being that one focused object
Oh,
and
that's a possibility as well. Yeah.
says life.
Hmm.
So what I feel like she probably did was see the cat coming around or whatever and goes, "Oh no, you know,
Yeah.
he can't like this cat. He can't like this cat more than me." And she may have went out and
Found it.
snapped its neck
Yeah.
and then just dropped it and went about her day.
Because
Because I mean,
there were no
we've seen her do that multiple times.
that.
She'll sit there working, and then you just kind of
Uh,
get this little glint, like, "Oh my god, I'm
yeah.
talking with a psychopath."
Yeah, they in the picture, which you see multiple times throughout the manga, there are no tire marks on the cat's body.
Right.
You know, it just looks like it it died.
Well, I mean, not only that, but it's not even on a spot where it could be a car. It's a
Yeah,
path.
yeah, it's like a pathway type of thing.
Yeah. So I mean, for sure, like there's not going to be a car go down that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that probably that's what happened
Yeah.
is she snapped this thing's neck and then probably left it there thinking, hey, it would be
Mm-hmm.
decomposed or something by then, or um, animal control people or
Yeah.
animal control like cleanup
Mm-hmm.
may have at some point walked by and cleaned it up and you know didn't, and they
Yeah.
ended up walking by this or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and it being there.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And her being like, "Oh crap, I forgot. Okay, well, let's just play it off."
Did you
you know,
see in the back where it has the?
or
Go ahead.
or here's the second one for that is that the reason she went out earlier and did the same thing. She killed the cat
Okay. Okay.
and she put it there for this thing to basically have that time with Say, because I mean he's a child, right, at this
Mm-hmm.
age, and he's going to ask those questions. What if she set up the cat there
Mm-hmm.
for him to ask her that, and for her to kind of instill this, oh hey, this is what happened to the cat, so he would be more intrigued by like her.
Yeah. So if you go back and look at the very end of the book where it says photo album,
Yeah,
you go back and you see like say when he's a baby, it
yeah,
actually says Seiichi at birth 1981.
yeah.
So it is set in the 80s, probably late 80s. I'm guessing late 80s, early 90s.
Well, if that's him, Seiichi at birth, and he's 13 now,
Yeah,
it would be 94.
yeah. So late mid 90s almost.
Yeah,
Yeah, the artwork's really interesting in this book.
yeah. Oh
It just
man, I really like how he does it. I think he does the
because
human
like
expression pretty
he
well too.
does. There are times where it's like some of the panels are like painted.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see. Wonder if he actually. Nobody really has his style, but he has a very like heavy line work or like a lot of hatching, cross hatching, stippling, type of stuff. For like the shading purposes, which a lot of mangaka don't really do that with their manga,
yeah,
and I find it very as an artist, I kind of picked up on this stuff because he uses a lot of like normal shading techniques, and I'm curious to see or wonder about if his stuff is digital or physically done because it looks like it has like a physical aspect to it. So a lot of times when you can tell when something is digitally done, you can tell like the difference.
right.
Um,
I mean, honestly, I think on most of his cover art, which we saw it with Flowers of Evil, if you
mhm.
bought the single volumes, you could tell kind of an arc setup because you had ones that were these simple like drawings. You had these hard, actual looked like the manga drawings. Um,
I
there's
think it's. I
there's
think
another one,
it's.
and then there was like looked like water paint.
I think his stuff is done in watercolor
Yeah,
because I think I remember hearing that, and I think I remember hearing that when I first heard about. I think it is done in like a watercolor style because his color pages are watercolor. And
right.
man, if they ever put out like a full color like edition of this in like that watercolor style,
Yeah,
that would just be like his artwork is already amazing,
right.
but to have it in full color and have it in its like original um uh like format to where
Yeah,
you got to see the watercolor paintings and stuff, I think that would be
that'd be
beautiful.
cool. Or if he
Yeah.
just put out like an art book.
Yeah, that'd be cool too. Because I mean, in the beginning, there are watercolors in this. When you see like they're walking around with the dead cat and stuff.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I like seeing colored manga and color pages in manga. And his definitely stand out
yeah.
because his artwork stands out and it's not like anybody else's artwork. You can't say like how like um they
I
say
mean, that's what I was saying. Like only him and uh what's his name? The other dude, the downfall guy and stuff.
yeah,
Uh, those are the only.
Ennio Asano.
Yeah, both of them are the only two I feel like even have work that's close enough to each other,
Yeah,
story wise and art wise.
yeah, that's true. We'll have to cover Downfall as well because that's a interesting
We
volume.
we have a lot of manga to cover. Okay,
Yeah,
so
but I actually highly recommend this. I'm gonna end up probably picking up the rest of it so we can actually cover it on the podcast.
right, I need to pick up the rest of this too. I think I have the first three.
Okay, yeah, I have the first volume and that's it.
So but I would highly recommend this to like anybody too.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm just going to tell you that like if you've already listened to our Ultraman podcast,
Hmm.
um, that this is another one of those that you're probably going to want to pick up like the first 5 volumes or so
Yeah.
because this one's even a quicker read than
It's
Ultraman.
It's definitely. I don't know why I never picked up the rest of it. I maybe just put it to the wayside
Yeah,
because I really enjoyed the first volume. But like, it's a like once like you go through it and you're like, oh, like at first I kind of thought it was boring.
right,
It's like, oh, it's kind of boring, and I was like, oh, like I gotta read more of this now.
right,
Like I was like, oh my god, like what the fuck just happened?
right.
Although I have to say, do you think this might go into some weird like incest vibe territory?
Yes, I I have predictions. I think it will go into an incest vibey place.
Mm-hmm.
I think the mom will kill the dad at some point,
Probably.
um, and that she will strongly push forward on him basically like marrying her
Because
almost
if I
the son.
remember correctly, like things start to kind of slowly unravel.
Yeah, but the son basically like trying to talk him into, oh, you're my soulmate, we'll just be together.
Yeah.
Something like those are my three predictions that I think will happen.
Yeah.
Now, with some of his work, there are usually like a type of sex scene as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot, but usually there's something like that.
Yeah.
And if we cross that line and it's
What do
even a
you
suggestion
what do
of
you
the son and the mom,
what do you suspect?
I don't know.
Hypothetically, what do you suspect if he actually does cross that line and it's like reciprocated both ways?
Oh my god.
It was because like really fucked up shit.
I don't. Oh my god. I don't know at that point.
You're
Uh,
like, I gotta
yeah.
burn these now.
Yeah. It'll probably be like I don't know what to do, or it'll be like I'm just gonna sit here and imagine that they're just actors and they're playing stuff
Yeah,
out, not their actual family, because that's gonna fucking scar me for life.
yeah. I mean, this is what is it rated? It doesn't have a rating on it on the back of it. I'm gonna guess it's like a mature reader's book
Um,
ish.
Let me look real quick.
It doesn't have a rating on the back of it.
I think they put it on the inside back cover.
Do they?
Maybe.
Uh,
Imprint by Kodansha, Japanese.
I don't see it.
Work of fiction. First edition. Hey, we can go see him in New York.
Oh, is he in New York? Oh,
It
Kodansha's in New York.
Yeah, it says it's where it's published.
Huh. Huh.
Published through.
Interesting. Interesting. But anyways, I highly recommend you guys read this. If you read it from us, from listening to our podcast, or if you already have interest in it, if you're looking for some kind of suspense horror manga that's not like monsters, this one's actually pretty good. Like
Yeah.
it's well worth the read. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. If you have any questions, concerns, topic ideas for us, you can reach us on our Instagram at Otakuology Podcast or on our email at otakuologypodcast@gmail.com. You can check out my YouTube channel at Otaku Mike. You can check out Jen's YouTube channel at Jen Graves. And yeah, I think that's everything. You know? When will they
Right.
see us next, Jen?
Y'all will see us next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday. Thanks for
Bye.
listening.